Hey everybody, Trav Moco here. I just wanted to share a quick story about how I met Muhammad Ali. Obviously, he just passed recently, and I have one of the most unique stories you could ever have about meeting the legend himself, Muhammad Ali. And I just wanted to share that real quick because it's a really unique memory. I'll post a link to either post a link or have some way for you to view the photo. We have some photos of how me and my family met him years ago. But here's what happened. So we were on a family vacation. I was in high school, and we went to Boston. And we were coming back. We lived in Indiana, so we were coming back across all the way Ohio. We were almost home. I mean, we were like an hour or two from home. We came across Ohio, up there in northern Indiana, pretty close to the Michigan border. Now, Muhammad Ali and his family and his wife lived in Michigan for most of the last, I think, at least 10, 15, 20 years. We were driving on I-69 heading south in Indiana, and I was half asleep or asleep, but I remember my younger brother, waking me up and saying a car had just passed us on the left side of the road, and he thought it was Muhammad Ali, or it looked like him. And he was of course I thought he was crazy. I thought he was full of it. I didn't quite believe him, but he was very adamant about it. And even though I just went with it. He got me. I don't even remember how exactly that part happened, but we got to my dad to pass the car. We're like, "Hey, go up there and pass that car," because we think that it's we thought he saw Muhammad Ali. So he goes up, and we pass it, and sure enough, we look over to our right because we passed him on the left, and Muhammad Ali is looking at us, and he's kind of like waving, and sure enough, it's him. So now my dad's freaking out. He's like, "Holy shit, it's really him." And we don't know what to do. We just think it's awesome. So we're in front of them in the right lane. They come around to pass us again. And this time, Muhammad Ali is waving, and his wife they come up next to us on the left lane and left side. And the wife is gesturing for us to pull over, while Muhammad Ali is waving at us, like a kid in a candy store. I just remember looking at his face; he was just so excited. And me and my brother, who high school, junior high age, we're just like, "This is too good to be true. What's going on?" Just crazy. And so we pull over to the side of the road, and my dad. And this is the side of the interstate, by the way. We're on Interstate I-69 in Indiana. And we're on the side of the interstate. We pull over as far as we can. My dad gets out. He's like, "Well, I'm going to go see what's going on." And, sure enough, he wants to meet us. Muhammad Ali wants to meet me and my brother. And I am just, this is like a road trip thing where I've been asleep most of the time, so I'm not even sure where I'm at or if this is really even happening. But so we get out of our car and go over to the passenger side door, and I remember the wife opening the door for him, opening the gates of heaven. And sure enough, this giant man steps out of the car, and I just never forget how. We were standing near the rear wheel, standing there by the wheel, the back side of the car, and and he steps out, and he was just so big. That's one of the things that gets lost in translation when you see some of these celebrities and athletes, is you forget how massive they are until you see them in person. Muhammad Ali's like 6'4" or something, 6'5". 200 some pounds, and he's still just a huge guy. I remember getting out, and he was shaking his fist and doing a little, shadow boxing thing, and had this smirk on his face. and he was just so excited to see us, like we were old friends or something. It was very bizarre how excited he was to see us. And so we shook his hand, and I remember shaking his hand. I remember just the grip on his hand. I thought he would rip my arm off if he wanted to. Even at that stage of the disease he had and how old he was, I still was amazed by how big he was, how strong his handshake was, how he looked at me when I shook his hand. I can't even imagine the look on my face. But it was just, I'll never forget it. So we shook his hand and we took pictures with him on the side of the highway, all the pictures. And I'll post a link or find some way to post it on this video or something. The photo, you were just standing next to his car on the interstate, and we made it real quick. And it was only 5 minutes that we stood there. We talked to his wife for a few moments, and she kind of explained it. But the thing about this story that's so unique and so cool is, well, for one, it's unique, obviously. But what's so cool about it is that his wife, told us why he made her pull over, why he was so adamant to meet us. And it also was because of my younger brother, who was just, looking out the window as we're driving on this road trip, and his eyes lit up. My brother, who was, we'll say 14, 13 at the time. And this is around 2002, 2003, around that era. And, Muhammad Ali was just really excited to see the excitement on my brother's face, and it excited him. So basically, long story short, his wife told us that Muhammad Ali made her pull over because he says that with his disease and his age, he doesn't think younger people recognize him as how he looks and who he is now. So he was excited to see that me and my brother, and especially my brother, react the way we did, how our eyes lit up, how as soon as we saw him in the car, we knew it was him. There was no doubt. It wasn't we didn't think Muhammad Ali looked like the guy we'd seen in clips or something on TV. We knew what he looked like now as an older man, so we knew who he was. So that's why he wanted to pull over and meet us and give us that opportunity. But that shows the type of kindness and type of person that Muhammad Ali was. He was just, everything, all the stuff they've been doing in memoriam for him over the last few days. It's just all about his kindness and his generosity and just the things he did for people and charity and all that. So it was just a great example of the type of person Muhammad Ali was, that he didn't like to let the disease beat him. He still lived his life in a very productive life. It's obviously sad about his passing and sad about the disease, but he lived a very long time with that affliction and still had a very productive, influential life, and it's influential to me and my brother. I'll never forget that as long as I live. I have friends and family that tell that story on our behalf, like, oh, did you hear what happened? Especially now Muhammad Ali's gone, a lot of the friends and family that know that story of ours will tell it because it's so unique. Muhammad Ali just saw some kids from Indiana driving down the interstate and told his wife to pull over because he wanted to meet us. And that's just think about that. Muhammad Ali wanted to meet us just because we were excited to see him. Driving down the interstate, they were going to something with his daughter, seeing her box or something with her daughter. One of his daughters. But anyways, that's my story about how I met Muhammad Ali. You'll never hear another story like it. It's as unique as it gets, especially when it comes to meeting a famous person. And not just any famous person, but one of the most famous people of the last century, for sure, last couple centuries. One of the most iconic, recognizable faces and names in the history of U.S. history, not just sports, but just history in general. So that's my story of how I met Muhammad Ali. Rest in peace to the great one, the greatest boxer of all time, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Subscribe, like, do all that. I appreciate it. And I will do more videos, and I'm going to do a lot more live streaming here in the next weeks and months on like sports and games, and covering games and things like that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see you next.